The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Hello there. Much of Australia is going to be fine and dry and sunny this weekend, but the exception to this rule will be Victoria and Tasmania, which will be cool, breezy with outbreaks of rain over the 18th week there in Melbourne on Saturday. It's still hot, dry and sunny in Beijing to start the weekend.
We'll start in a couple of minutes.
Coming down on Sunday into next week. Hot and sunny heatwave conditions across much of northern India, temperatures around 40 Celsius with Delhi certainly hot enough in that floor. Oh, we've got temperatures of 34 degrees in Cairo.
Just get your microphone prepared and we will start.
21, 22 degrees for Paris and for London. Good spells of sunshine here to start the weekend. It will be cooler. Whereas on, got 27 degrees in Rio de Janeiro on Saturday with some good spells of sunshine. And we've got some sunshine in New York, 19 degrees or so, but it's still hot and sunny in Atlanta. Temperatures around 36 Celsius.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Follow the food in association with Corteva.
Demand for food is on the rise, and so too is the desire for a more transparent food chain.
Technology has enabled us to be able to give visibility to the end consumer.
Consumers want more information on where their food comes from and when it was produced.
The consumer has changed from I want more food to how good is it for me? What did it cost the environment? And where did it come from?
From farmers to manufacturers, retailers to shoppers, how will the food industry of the future transform the way it communicates with an environmentally aware consumer who demands sustainability and quality?
Eating habits is really changing dramatically. We are creating a history.
Find out more with Follow the Food on BBC World News.
Follow the food in association with Corteva.
Get live ball-by-ball cricket coverage on the BBC Sport website and app, with all the big international matches across all forms of the game. Join the debate on social media and get the latest stats and scorecard info direct to your phone. Go online or download the app now.
Today at 5, it's over. In 2 weeks' time, Theresa May will step down as leader of the Conservative Party. In a statement delivered outside number 10 Downing Street, Mrs May said she would remain here until a new leader is elected in July.
It is and will always remain a matter of deep regret to me that I have not been able to deliver Brexit. It will be for my successor to seek a way forward that honours the result of the referendum.
Well, her voice cracking with emotion as she said that she left with no ill will and enormous gratitude.
I will shortly leave the job that it has been the honour of my life to hold. The second female Prime Minister, but certainly not the last. I do so with no ill will, but with enormous and enduring gratitude to have had the opportunity to serve the country I love.
And already leadership candidates are jostling to succeed her. Boris Johnson is the front runner at the moment, but there have been supportive words from her predecessor.
She is and she was a dedicated public servant. She worked incredibly hard on our behalf. I think she deserves our gratitude for that, and this will be a very difficult day.
Well, we'll have all the reaction and analysis to what's been another momentous day here at Westminster. Hello from Downing.
Hello, Matthew.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, and you?
I'm doing excellent, thank you. What is new?
School year comes to its end slowly or fast, I don't know. So we just finished almost all the progress checks, final progress checks for Chan form, and now I feel a bit relieved from all this, at least partly, from school.
Progress checks? What do you mean?
Checks. It's like what you can, some final piece of work which is given to prove that you know the material of 10 form.
Tests?
Tests, yeah, final test. But they were named progress checks in Enjoy English textbook, and so it is. I am accustomed to this term.
I have no
Maybe
idea.
it's wrong.
Yeah. How do you spell it?
Progress check.
Oh, check. Okay.
Check.
All right. Now it makes sense. Yeah. Progress checks. Okay. Good. Yeah. Now I understand what you're saying. Very good. Excellent. I haven't seen you for a while, and that's the only news which you can talk about, right?
Maybe.
Okay.
But
did you? Go ahead.
So I participated a bit in the ceremony of graduation of 11 forms a couple of days ago. 10 forms just welcomed the 11th ones to the place where the ceremony took place, and that was all my participation. But next year I'm going to pass the same ceremony.
Yeah, I understand. So, did you follow the Eurovision contest, song contest?
Not really. I wasn't watching it live, and I only heard that Russian participant took the third result, just as third place. Yeah, third.
So
why do you?
Why didn't you follow? Why didn't you watch it?
I just I'm not accustomed to watching because I've never been fond of this, but
yeah,
maybe I should.
But that's the question is why. You said why don't you like it?
It's wrong to say that I don't like it. I'm just a bit indifferent to it, and occasionally I find the archives of the best performances of different years of this show, and I watch it, but this time really I wasn't so much interested. I just maybe watching it post factum.
Yeah, but you didn't answer my question. I'm just you're saying you're indifferent. You don't like it. You are not very fond of it. So my question is why? Why are you indifferent?
I don't really know, because I just don't feel interested in this. There's so much buzz about who would travel to this context the next year, and so much speculations about it, and I just don't find this very important. I don't know why, really.
So see, that's kind of a you have to see the point. You have to explain. It's the regular question for any kind of exam. The teacher asks you, and I understand that probably it's none of my business, but it's only for the sake of the exam question. You know, when
Yeah.
when the teacher asks you, like, why don't you like it? Why are you indifferent? Or why?
I have to invent something.
Sorry,
I have to invent something.
invent?
Yeah.
No, it's not a way to pass to have a successful to get a successful grade. You have to explain yourself. That's it. That's it. And if you ask me, I think that most of the time, the only thing when I cannot explain something when it's above my head, for example, you know that I do not understand a lot about finances, for example, or I do not understand a lot about the so-called calculus in mathematics because it's above my head, and so that's when I usually say I'm not able to understand that. How can I know that? It's very difficult for me to understand. It's much more difficult than I can understand. So that's the reason when I answer the questions like that. But if you ask me about my preferences, why I watch or don't watch any kind of shows or contests, I usually have my opinion. That's why we have the exams. The exams are for your opinions. And when you say, when the teacher asks you about your opinion and you say, I don't know, so then the teacher will probably tell you, I'm very sorry, but I have nothing to grade here. So your grade will be 0. You have to understand that. Even, you know, I can, if you don't believe me, if you don't trust me, I can show you some real videos from, for example, IELTS test, where the examiners of the IELTS test from Great Britain or from Canada or from Australia, they just advise you never to use this phrase, I don't know, because if you don't know, then probably you will not, the examiners will have nothing to grade, and you will definitely not pass the test. And so the last thing which you said that you have to invent, again, when you invent something, it's absolutely understandable immediately. And so again, you will not pass the test. It's the conversation is not about something making up or, like you said, inventing. No, it's a real life conversation. You never, if you pretend something or if you make up or, like you said, if you invent something during the conversation, people probably will not talk with you. It's, you know, it's weird, it's unusual to talk with a person who invents the answers. I don't know. So just like if you ask me if I watch or do not watch any kind of show or any kind of event, I think, I hope that I can explain it, because this is not more difficult that I can do something. So what do you think? Hello?
Yeah, I hear you. I'm trying to notice my opinion about it.
Yeah, right. I can give you my example. Just you know, almost never watch the contest like that. So a couple of reasons why I'm raising this issue is, first of all, that that was on the latest news, and I'm trying to make a conversation a little bit, trying to figure out what kind of latest news you follow. Then another thing is that this year, and usually when I try to make a little bit of research about any kind of contest, this year there were a couple of interesting things from my professional linguistic point of view. It was about the song which is #1, which is called Arcade, and the lyrics which the singer used there are translated from the Dutch language into the English, and it says like, "Loving you is a losing game," which is a Dutch saying translated into English by a non-native speaker, and everybody loves that because this is kind of an arcade game this singer is playing. And then another thing is that the Russian participant didn't get the award for the first place, and that was the reason why and he complained that, first of all, technically the Israelis couldn't complete all the technicalities which were necessary for him to express the idea of the song. So I had to watch his show in order to understand what was that specific about the technicalities. And those were the 3D or hologram reflections which he produced on the stage, which in my understanding, they were absolutely useless for the expression of the meaning of the song. They are very artificial from the point of view of the meaning of the song. And another thing is that he also said that his song is not that easy to understand, not for everybody to understand. And see, again, I had to read the lyrics of the song, and because that's again in English, and it was interesting from the professional point of view, again from the linguistic point of view. So I did read it, and I'm sorry, but I didn't find anything anything catchy or anything that meaningful what he was talking about. So that was why I was following those news, because they were challenging for me. But if you say like if I'm interested or not, of course I'm not interested at all in following this crazy competition. That's definitely not for me. But there were some points, some things which definitely were necessary to explain, to be explained, to understand for me. So that was why I followed it. And also I can, that's about any kind of news right now, on the screen you can see that Theresa May, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, resigned. And again, probably you can also say that you are absolutely indifferent to this thing. But at the same time, you know that even if you are indifferent, this is on the news. And so that's quite a normal question from a teacher. What do you think about your resignation? I understand that you don't care, but just what do you think of Theresa May, or about Brexit, or about whatever you want to say concerning this news? So just if you have something to say about this contents, this competition, that probably might be interesting.
So I should say that, do you mind if I just say a couple of words about this competition in general? And as I already said, I watched many, previous competition songs, and all I know about this competition is that the best song had to surprise the spectators in one or another way. In terms of some special effects, in terms of some lyrics, in terms of anything that is part of the performance.
Okay.
Those who surprise spectators get the highest marks.
Okay.
Yeah, they have to add something really surprising, really not to stand. It's the best way to win this competition or any other competition that is based on viewers' polls, is to be surprising and stand out.
Mm-hmm.
The people will catch it and they will vote for it.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything what you've been saying, because see, if you when you use the word, for example, word it's not interesting for me. The good teacher, in my understanding, will always ask you, and what is interesting. So can you give a definition of the word interesting? What is interesting?
Interesting is something that that catches my view, that catches my sight in the very particular moment, that interferes with my usual interests. It's bad idea to explain in this way, which interferes with my usual outlooks on life or something
Okay.
like that.
Let me give you the good definition. Let me see from the dictionary. So if you can see on my screen, that's the Merriam-Webster. And so I'm just typing the word interesting so that you can read the definition of the word interesting. So you see, holding the attention or arousing interest. That's what you said, kind of a surprising. But anyway, you have to go and to explain the word interest. See? And then what is interest? And see, a feeling that the company causes special attention to something or someone, and that means concern. Something or someone that arouses attention. The quality in a thing or person arouses an interest. And then you see a charge for borrowed money, generally a percentage of amount borrowed, which is for the bank.
I know that.
Yeah. And in another way, many times the feeling that the company causes special attention is something new. Many times, the meaning is when you say, for example, that's not interesting for me. The meaning is that you cannot see anything new in the show. That is why we see the opposite of this interesting. What is boring, because it's almost always the same. Everything which you already know, nothing new. Nothing which you can learn or get to know. So that's the definition of the word interesting.
And this definition will make not a perfect but a good answer to the question. I'm not interested in this because I don't see anything new in this competition.
Yeah,
it's a lot better.
yeah, but you didn't give this answer. That is why, as a teacher, I was forced to, you know, to give you my definition. And you see, this is absolutely a bad job I'm doing. I'm imposing my opinion to you. And do you know the word to impose?
I've heard of it, but
To impose
what is
means навязывать. So I'm imposing my opinion to you, and this is a very bad job I've been doing. So I shouldn't have done that in the first place. But see, I tried to explain many times, and you still you just keep on repeating the same idea that this is not interesting, this is not arousing any interest for me, and so on. So usually you have to have some kind of final explanation. The final explanation is when the examiner or the teacher has no question to ask you, and that helps you a lot. Okay, anyway, but let's practice, and I will ask you another question about the latest news, and I beg your pardon again, I have no idea about what I'm asking, but so it's just for you to understand my point that in the case of when we talked about the Eurovision, I was kind of involved in this discussion, but when I'm the next item on the news, which I'm going to ask you right now, definitely I was not involved, and that's the next point why people discuss news. That's when. So I want you to see my point. The item of the news which I'm going to bring about right now, I have no idea at all what is that, because I just have no idea, and you will see it. But anyway, I'm asking you about your opinion. Why? Because probably after your opinion, I will become interested, because this is why people communicate. You see my point?
So I see your point. I'm very glad that you have some interest to my point of view, and that's really good for me.
Okay, so my question is, do you follow the Game of Thrones? Which, as I said, I have no idea about this. That was on the latest news this week. I can be specific. What they said, that there was the release of the last episode of the last season or whatever. So please, if you don't like to talk about Game of Thrones, we can talk about Avengers, which again I have no idea. The end game, I have no idea what is that, and so on. And I can keep on bringing up the topics from the latest news. I can ask you about, for example, computer games, which small kids have been interested in lately, like, you know, Brawl Stars or Granny, or you know, they have lots of them. I have no idea what games are about, but that is why I'm asking other students just to help me here. So let's start with the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I don't really watch it, but I've heard of it many times from the news lately, and from the adverts, from the you know, these ads out in the streets where mobile communication operators are just making ads with this TV series, allowing it to watch it free using their services and so on. So, you know, I think that everyone in here around the world, you know, in our country, in European countries, is one way or another aware of this TV project. But I have no idea what is this, what's it about in detail. I just know that it's some kind of fantasy universe set in I forgot the word medieval. Set in medieval times with fantasy, huge fantasy elements, and it consists of many descriptions of cruelty and so on. But for some reason, it's really gripping for large amounts of viewers. And I also know that each episode of this well-known TV series is very expensive to film, because really they're making large amounts of money on this, and this massive ad campaign shows us this.
You do not follow this TV show, correct?
Yeah, I do not follow, but I know because everyone else knows.
What I mean here, do you know why everyone follows?
Because either it's very gripping, or it's massive ad campaign, or both.
Massive what?
Advertisement campaign.
Okay. And see, again, when you say it's very gripping, what is so gripping there?
You just watch and you want to know what's next, and you watch constantly, and you are waiting for the next episode or season or something like whatever you call in the TV shows. And
I got you. I understand. All right. So the next question was, as I said, Avengers Endgame.
Avengers, I'm not very aware of this, because I know about this from ads only, and I suppose it's some kind of superhero movies, which are so popular in some countries, but
so you
I have no additional information.
You haven't seen it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. So another thing is, as I said, I mentioned a couple of computer games. So one of the computer games is Brawl Stars. Have you watched it?
Not really. If it's a smartphone game, so I'm afraid I'm not aware about it at all. The very last smartphone game that was on the media a couple of years ago was Pokemon Go, and I just it was the last computer game that caught my attention a couple of years ago. Last mobile game I mean. From this time, I didn't focus much on this industry, but I also heard that something like a shooter game appeared on mobiles, though I can't really think about how you control such sophisticated in terms of controls games using a smartphone. It's just not very convenient, you know.
Okay.
I think. So smartphones are for rather simple games.
All right.
Not more.
My students, I mean, 8, 9-year-old, they just mentioned a couple of other games like Evil Nun. Evil Nun. You understand? Nun?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I understand this word, and it's kind of a controversial combination because, you know, nun and evil, it shouldn't be like this.
So, what you mean here is that this is what we call in the English language oxymoron.
Yeah.
Do you know the word oxymoron?
Yeah, I know this word from my literature courses in school.
But that's typically the device for the English language. I don't think that it's really easy to use oxymorons or zubmas. That's another device in Russian. But anyway, if it is possible, I will be more than happy. So you mean that evil nun is an oxymoron, the things which shouldn't be connected, right?
Yeah.
Okay, very good, interesting. All right, so then you know that what they do, the kids when they talk about this Brawl Stars, they do it like that. El Primo. Have you ever seen that? Have you seen?
No, they learn Spanish.
I don't know. They just showed me that that's part of this game. But anyway, so then they mentioned a couple of games which contain the Russian word "сосед," like "привет, сосед," or something like what else? I have forgotten. Well, let me see. Достать соседа. And so on. Have you ever heard about that сосед tu дома? Have you ever heard of that?
Really not, but I think it's rather old thing. I don't know whether it's a film or some internet, you know, they call it memes. So I don't know what it is, but this combination of words is something strangely familiar to me.
Okay, yeah, because see, that's my job. I'm trying to find something which is familiar to my students, and it's not that easy, because otherwise, if I do not find something which is familiar to you, then you probably will not talk. Or if you start talking, the conversation will be very artificial, like you said, invented conversation. And I'm not about that. I'm not the teacher of the invented conversation or making something up. Okay, but anyway, that's really good. So before I just bring up the last item of the news, which I wanted to mention. So can you name some interesting book, movie, or game for the last week for you or something?
Book or movie or game? Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah. So I rediscovered some game for me after 5 years. In 2013, I was regularly buying one type of computer magazine, and on the last page sometimes there were some game reviews, and sometimes it occurred to me to play in these games reviewed in this magazine.
Play this game without me. Okay, go ahead. That's all right.
So one month in 2013, I have read about one rather interesting.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Pay no attention.
Some games that I thought to be rather interesting. This game is kind of a political simulator, which you are elected for the head of government in some